What's going on, culés? Welcome back to Blaugrana Zone, your destination for all things Football Club Barcelona. We're going to jump right into today's game. Barça, Mallorca, 3-0. What an absolute beatdown from Barcelona. But it could have been a lot worse because we were against a 9-man Mallorca after 35 minutes and we only scored one more goal on them after that. That's not something that you want to see when your team is facing a very disabled Mallorca side after 2 red cards in the first half. Let me tell you today's lineup. We had Ferran Torres at striker. We had Rafinha, Fermin Lopez, and Lamine Yamal. We had Pedri and Frankie de Jong. And in the back line, we looked like this: Balde, Cubarsí, Araujo, and Eric Garcia. And in the goal, we had Joan Garcia. So right up top, we're going to address the elephant in the room. Koundé did not start on the right side. I don't know if Eric Garcia has just been looking amazing in training, but he had a very good game today. I like that someone's giving Koundé a run for his money at that position. And even if it's not that kind of friendly competition, I'm glad that Koundé gets some rest time because, as we know, last year, I think he had like 100 games played for club and country before he had that injury. So we definitely don't want to run him into the ground this early on in the season, especially if we don't have to, right? We had a great goal from Rafinha, who opened up the goal catalog for Barcelona off of a great cross from Lamine Yamal. It was very reminiscent of his goal against Atletico Madrid when we had that comeback, I think from down 2-0 to win 4-2. It started with that Rafinha header. So that was giving me very good memories. The second goal was where the controversy really started. Lamine had a strike that hit, I think it was a defender, Vagent, in the head. I don't know if he headed it or if Lamine just hit him in the head accidentally. But either way, he went down and the ref had the whistle in his mouth, but did not blow the whistle. So, you know, play had to keep going. That's what you're taught in soccer as a kid, right? You play to the whistle. And that's exactly what Ferran did when he picked up the ball and scored. Leo Roman didn't even react. And that's not to call him a scrub because he's a good keeper. He had some great saves after that. I think we should have won by a lot more. But that made the Mallorca manager, Arrasate, to argue with the ref, giving him a yellow card. This game was full of yellow cards from Mallorca. That did not look great. Morlanes, who was already on a yellow card, did another mindless tackle, argues with the ref, gets a second yellow and sent off. Shortly thereafter, Muriqi goes and does a brainless strike at the ball while Joan Garcia is already going for a header. So he makes connection. His cleats are up. It's a no-brainer red card, direct red. Get out of here. No place for that in the game. Mallorca went down to 9 men, and at halftime we were up 2-0. I was thinking that, hey, we're licking our chops, you know?
Know what that means? Licking my chops.
A la Pep Beverly. I thought we were going to have more goals. I think this should have ended 5-0, maybe 6-0. But second half, Barcelona looked very uninspired. We looked tired. We looked like we're just going through the motions. And that's not something you want to see. You don't want to see your team be complacent with this small margin of victory against a 9-man Mallorca who are coming at you with everything they've got. And in the second half, they put up a pretty big fight against Barcelona. They just couldn't find the back of the net due to Joan Garcia having some great saves. What a keeper. Ronald Araujo didn't have the best game. He had this one tackle early on that I think he could have been carded for. And it was like Frankie de Jong already had the ball. There was no reason for you to go tackle the defender when he didn't have the ball anymore. Pedri obviously had a great game. Frankie looked a little shaky at best. Fermin just did not have a good game. You know, the Fermin we saw in preseason was not the Fermin that we saw today. And I hope to see a lot better from him. You know, this team is very lucky today that we got away with 3 points. Because if we didn't have the Lamine goal and assist, we would only be sitting on the Ferran goal. And that was just very, like, by a small margin that we got that. Because once they reviewed it and they counted the goal, you know, that call could have easily went against us, and then we have a 0-0. We walk away with 1 point, right? But we're thankful that today we walked away with 3. Let me know what you guys think about that goal. Should it have counted? Should it not have counted? The Lamine goal at the end was absolutely beautiful. I think Lamine is the kind of player where he needs to be rattled. Like, like, as weird as that sounds, he needs the opposition to get in his face and talk shit for him to be like, okay, let me lock in and show you what's up, right? So that's exactly what he did when he scored a goal in like the 92nd minute. Absolutely beautiful. He took 3 defenders with him, he got past one, and then he shook off the 2 so bad that they crashed into each other, goes around that, and then scores. Roman had no chance of getting that. We saw Pablo Torre go against us today. This is the first time he'll be going against us since we sold him to Mallorca. I thought he was going to have a banger game. I was a little bit afraid because we have a history of players leaving us and then having bangers against us. So that had me nervous. Mojica looked really good for Mallorca. Even though we got a 3-0 win on them, he was giving Lamine problems early on. He was taking the ball from him. He was beating him on the ball sometimes. But either way, Lamine had the last laugh with a goal and assist. Rafinha had a very good game too, but he got yellow carded. But he was pressing high the entire time. Rafinha did not look tired at all. It was complete opposite of what we saw from him in the preseason. We saw him looking a little shaky. He had to get some of that rust off. But today he had a pretty good game. I think our only downfall today was really Fermin and Ronald Araujo. Outside of that, I think everyone had like a pretty good game, right? So our substitutes were Dani Olmo for Fermin Lopez. Dani Olmo had a strike where he hit the post. And it was one of those strikes where you're like, bro, you're that close. How do you hit the post? It was very reminiscent of Rashford missing that sitter in our last preseason game. But either way, we got the win. But like I said, you don't want to win by that kind of margin when the other team has two red cards, right? They're playing with 9 men. Joffrey Torrens looked like a good replacement for Alejandro Balde at minute 68. He picked right up where Balde left off, playing good defense, some good crosses. I liked everything I saw. Pablo Gavi had an all right game. He only got a good score on his sofa score thing because he had that assist to Lamine. But it was one of those assists where, like, you give him the ball and you're like, hey, buddy, you go. It wasn't one of those things where he created the space and then left him the ball to score. He kind of gave it to him up top and was like, you do what you can with that. But like I said, Lamine already was getting rattled by the opposition to where he had to go in and cook, And we haven't seen that level of, give me the ball and let me cook since Leo Messi, right? Where he just goes at the defenders with zero fear. He doesn't care how many bodies you're throwing at him. And honestly, like, after last season's game against Inter, where he was going up against Bastoni and that other bald guy from Inter, I don't think anything is going to scare him because those guys were huge and physical the entire time. Rashford came in for Ferran Torres. And he didn't really look that good. I didn't like what I saw from Rashford, but I'm going to cut him some slack. It's his first game in a different league, right? So there's going to be a bit of a learning curve. He has to get used to it. We definitely saw him looking a lot better in that last preseason game, but we got to be patient. As long as Lewandowski is going to be out, there will be minutes for Marcus Rashford at the number 9 role. And like I said earlier, Jules Koundé came in the second half for Rafinha, and that's when Flick kind of scrambled our defense up a little bit, allowing Pablo Gavi to come back down a little bit in defense and run up on offense. I think that kind of role for Gavi is going to help him get into tip-top shape for mid-season to maybe start giving Frankie de Jong a little bit of a battle for that starting spot, which I think is very smart. You don't want to run Gavi into the ground right away. You don't want him to play CDM minutes and be flipping off with Frankie de Jong, back and forth, because it's gonna cause him to be more fatigued around the middle of the season. Overall, not a bad game from our guys, but we are lucky to walk away with 3 points considering Mallorca had 2 men down. We should have won by like 5, right? But either way, we got our 3 points. We'll take it. We're happy with it. Let me know who the man of the match is for you guys. Let me know what you think of this little analysis. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Who's your man of the match? To me, it's Lamine, because like I said before, if he didn't have that goal and assist, we would just be sitting on the Ferran Torres goal, which was very, very controversial. It could have gone either way. We're thankful that it ended up on our side. This was just a very good game. I'm very excited for the next one. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and Visca Barça.